Hi folks, I'm Gene McLaughlin. I'd like to welcome you to a special Third Ward edition of Directions 2016. Every time there is a council election, we bring you the candidates, we let them come in here, talk to you about their views facing the township and their respective wards. This year we have a special situation, a special election in Ward 3. This was brought about by the passing of Reggie Butler, who was the long-term councilman, 27 years on the council. When Reggie passed, the council appointed June Dungee to replace Reggie. She's a Democrat, and she will fill out Reggie's term until Election Day. On Election Day, June will have to run for election with an opponent. The opponent this year is Frank Weber, a Republican. We have invited both of these candidates in here to share their views with you on the key issues facing the township and Ward 3. And it's my pleasure to introduce them to you right now. June, welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
And Frank,
Gene,
good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Good to have you with us. If we can begin, first thing, you've been in Ward 3. People may know you, but there may be some people that don't know you. Frank, if I can begin with you, can you give us a little synopsis of your background, little personal information, professional, and your...
Yes, my wife now of 44 years, going to be 45 in May, and I moved here in 1974 November, so I'll be here this November. I'll be celebrating a lot of years, 44 years here.
Right.
We've raised 4 children in the township. They've gone through the public schools. They're all living successful, productive adult lives, and it's a great place to live. I first got involved in the volunteer efforts in Old Bridge in 1979 when I got drafted kind of as my son's soccer coach, and subsequently I held the presidency in the Old Bridge Soccer League, which was predominantly boys, but 1,200 young people,
Yeah.
and the Old Bridge Girls Soccer Association. I then got involved in the Board of Education process because they felt the distribution of facilities and was not equitable throughout the system, that we had 12 elementary schools with 12 different levels of service. And through that involvement, I ultimately ran and was successfully elected to the board. I've served 17 of the last 23 years. I've also been involved on the Recreation Advisory Committee. The bottom line is, I think in all of these issues, it's any of these places that I've gone, I've met some wonderful people, some people who are, I think, like-minded in trying to make a difference in the township. And as a group, a lot of things have been accomplished. My professional life, I'm vice president of operations for a company which is called the Global Association of Risk Professionals, which administers a high-end financial risk certification process worldwide. We're recognized, and we do some teaching sessions at places like the Federal Reserve Bank, the Bank of England. And I've been there for 9 years now, and it's a great job. It's so great I haven't retired yet. So.
Okay, Frank, thank you. Thank you. June, if I could ask you to do the same thing, a little bit about your professional background, your personal background, and other offices you may have served either as an elected official or as a volunteer.
Well, first, I would like to say thank you for inviting me for this forum this afternoon. I am June Dungee. I'm a councilwoman since June of 2016.
Right.
And I live in Parkwood Gardens in Old Bridge, and I've been there 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I am a widow, and I have raised 2 children who are college educated and are living very independent, successful lives. I graduated from Mount Clear University with a Bachelor of Arts degree in home economics with an intense concentration on consumer affairs. I worked for the City of East Orange in the law department. I worked for the State Department of Education, Essex County Superintendent of Schools, as administrative assistant to the superintendent, and I assisted him in running the office. I also was a certification evaluator where we processed the transcript for anyone that wanted to become a teacher or to receive a higher certificate in the education department. I have done a lot of contract work with many of the Fortune 500 companies, such as Prudential, Sharon Ply, Bristol Myers Squibb, and I also worked with the Morristown Memorial Hospital, and those experiences really have taught me a lot. I have volunteered with the League of Women Voters,
Okay.
and I also was involved with the voter registration. I'm the corresponding secretary for the Middlesex County Federation of Democratic Women, and I've also been on the executive board for several branches within the NAACP. I was a youth director there, and I enjoyed working with the youth very, very much. I know that was one of Rich's concern too, and he loved young people. I'm an active member of my church, the First Baptist Church of Lincoln Garden. I have participated in most of the ministries there, and I am very particularly active with the senior choir. I sing in the senior choir. I've been singing since I was a young person.
Okay.
I also, we have a great Bible study every Tuesday, and we have over 40 churches that come there. And I am also on the senior usher board, and we are the gatekeepers for anyone that come into the church. And we have met some wonderful people doing that. Delegations from all over the world come and visit us, so I enjoy my church very, very much.
Okay, well, thank you, June. You both have tremendous backgrounds, very, very rich backgrounds. You know, I salute both of you. June, if I can direct a question to you. This, I understand, is your first elected office, or will be your first elected office, right? You were appointed, now it will be an elected office. You've been on the council 3 months. What have you learned? How does it feel being one Democrat among 8 Republicans? What about governing have you learned?
I am very excited about being on the council, and even though I'm the only Democrat, everyone has been so nice to me and been very cooperative and helpful to me. You'd be surprised, even though they are Republicans and I'm the only Democrat,
Right.
I guess I don't want to say feel sorry for me, but they are making me feel very, very welcome. The ladies I sit beside, they make sure that I understand things, and they make sure they help me to keep my mic turned on. That was one of the problems I had was when you have to speak, you have to make sure your
Yes.
mic is on, but
Yes,
you
ma'am.
pay it off because they don't want
Right.
to get in the feedback.
Right.
I've learned a lot in terms of the different departments have been very helpful in explaining things to me. And I've been doing a lot of research, a lot of reading, asking questions. So even though I'm new, I am learning about Old Bridge and the policies and procedures of running Old Bridge Township.
Okay, thank you, June. Frank, you've held many positions in the township. What have you taken away from those positions in terms of governance and the experience that you've had?
As I believe my 8th grade graduation song, one of them was "No Man is an Island," and you can't be an island unto yourself.
Right.
You have to learn how to work with the group of people you're working with, some who you may not feel exactly the same way. If you want to accomplish positive objectives, you need to find a way to work with people, to negotiate with them, and wait for another day if you think you've got something else that might be a better way to go.
Okay, thank you, Frank. If I can come back, and Frank, just continue with you, if I may, for a moment. What's the greatest strength you feel you bring to the council?
Well, I think the consistent strength that I've demonstrated through the Board of Education is there's a lot of material to be processed. We meet twice a month. We have an agenda session which runs multiple hours, and a regular session we have committee meetings. I think it's a critical need to totally understand the issues, and that requires you spending your research time to totally understand them.
Right.
I think I'm a very strong researcher, and it is a rare situation that I get to a meeting that I feel strongly about a particular issue that I may not be in the majority, but I'll work again toward consensus, but I do come well prepared.
That's what I was going to say. You feel preparation is really the key to
Yes,
success
absolutely.
up there, huh? June, can I ask you the same question? What's the greatest strength that you feel you bring to the council? We talked, you've been there a couple months now. You've seen how it operates. What do you think your greatest strength is?
Well, I am a very open-minded, stable person, and I do my research. Like as I said before, I've been doing a lot of reading and trying to do research about Old Bridge. There are so many aspects of Old Bridge.
Yes, ma'am.
And in the third ward, there are issues that they are concerned about. So
Right.
I have been trying to catch myself up on that. So I think I'm a strong person. I do my research. I'm easy to get along with, and I'm very good at following instructions.
Okay.
Okay. And I kind of try to stay out the fray. I just want to do what I have to do to represent my people, because that is the reason I'm here. They didn't elect me. The council put me there.
Right.
But I hope to be re-elected so I can continue to represent the people in Oak Ridge.
Well, if we can pick up on that, June, you anticipated my next question. What do you think, taking the big picture, as we said before, the broad picture is one councilman, but looking at the whole township, what do you think the big challenges facing the township are right now, as you sit on the council and look out?
Well, we just went through one great example, and that was with the Corps.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that was one of probably the biggest decision I had to make. This administration wants to build around 4,100 new apartments, and that's going to be a dramatic effect on the taxpayer, our school system, and even our traffic flow. Have you ever tried going down to the Parkway on Route 9 around 9 o'clock in the morning?
Oh,
It's a nightmare.
I've been there, yes, ma'am.
Yes,
I've
and
been
coming
there.
home is
Right,
on the
it's
opposite
worse.
side,
It's
just
worse.
as
Yes,
bad.
it is.
So we don't need to add more to that, even though I know some people may want more apartments. But right now we have more concerns that people in my ward are interested in. So I think we should be focusing on doing other things to help our residents.
Okay, thank you. Frank, greatest challenge you see? Something other than COA or COA?
Well,
What would you see?
it's also it's a constant challenge, especially for younger families with younger children. I lived it when my wife wasn't working or was working only part-time. It's a day-to-day financial struggle to pay your bills, and especially as difficult as the economy has been in recent years. People aren't getting the raises that they were accustomed to getting. They're getting less hours, expenses continue to rise, and it's a constant struggle. So I believe one of the things that is critically important is to absolutely keep tax increases, either saying none is idealistic, but it's not a practical situation, but keeping them to the absolute minimum so people can afford them without reducing the level of services that they require and should get. And that's what I would work hard to do. I think I've shown that skill level on the Board of Education, where I made some innovative suggestions, one of them being the change in the nursing program because my wife is an RN, which has saved $6 million cumulatively since 1995, and this year alone it's saving $750,000.
Okay, well, thank you, Frank. And folks, we're getting ready to take a break right now. We're talking with the candidates in the special election for the 3rd Ward to be held on November 8th. Frank Weber, who is the Republican challenger, and June Dungee, who is the Democratic incumbent. Please stay with us, and we'll be back in a moment. Folks, welcome back to this special edition of 2016, focusing on Ward number 3. We have a special election coming up in that ward on November 8th to choose a successor to fill out the remaining term of Congressman Butler, who passed away earlier this year. We have with us today the candidates, June Dungee, the Democrat, challenger Frank Weber, Republican. Friends, thank you again for coming in. Really appreciate it. Frank, we were in the middle of something. We were talking a little bit about some of your concerns. We were talking about the economics of the township, the ability of people to live here, or own a home, and so on. Anything else bother you?
Well, I'm sure that with the recent discussion on COA, people are concerned about additional development in town and the impact that it'll have on the school system, since the school taxes are the largest part of their tax bill. They're between close to 65%.
Yes, sir.
Currently serving on the board there, the Oak Ridge school enrollment has gone down approximately between 900 and 1,000 students in the last 8 or 9 years. That's primarily because the housing market has gotten slow. People who would normally be selling their homes and moving out in their sunset years to Florida or wherever, South Jersey, are waiting to get the price that they thought they should deserve in many cases. The township age has actually increased about 4 years in a 10-year census, which is a very high growth rate for the age, which is an indication that we're not building new homes and we're not getting a lot of new school children at this point.
Okay,
Certainly,
good point.
apartments also generate far less than single-family homes do for children. But what I also will tell you is that this current Board of Education has engaged a consultant because as more and more demands have been put on the public school system to provide a higher level of services to children who require them, we do need to expand our space situation. We haven't done anything since 2001 when the referendum passed, which is remarkable. So it's a 15-year period. The state only lets you do a 5-year, the State Department of Education only lets you do a 5-year plan. So our referendum has stood the test of 15 years.
Wow.
But it's now, they're working in a timely manner. We're not overcrowded at this point, and they will be working toward a solution to provide space as it's needed. But understand that whatever the number of apartments is, it's not going to generate anywhere near the number of children that come out of single-family homes.
Understandable, yeah. Okay, thank you, Frank. June, were there any other issues that concern you?
Yeah, I would just like to, if I may add to
Please.
interject about the school system. I realize that you do not get the same income out of the apartments, but those people are very interested in for their kids to have a good education also. They are very concerned about that. And even though I'm not on the school board, I don't know the statistics as Mr. Weber does, I'm very concerned about supporting and representing my people in that respect in terms of good education. I've had people to ask me questions about the school system and what's going to be down the road for their children. I would also like to say that we need to be concerned about the infrastructure in Old Bridge. Last Monday, I went with the engineering department and the public works, and they gave me a tour of Ward 3, and it gave me an idea to see the roads and the streets and how they look. And I'm very pleased to say that they are doing a very good job. I mean, there are some who need some help, but basically the streets in Ward 3 are pretty good. As a matter of fact, I was down in District 7, and I saw one area that probably needs a little support. And also recreation. We don't have any recreational facilities or anything to help the young people pretty much in London Terrace and Parkwood Village in New Amsterdam. So we need some activities, some facilities for activities over there for those young people. As they say, idle minds, the devil's workshop. We need to have something to keep these young kids active, you know. And also, we really don't have a direct transportation to bring them from there over here to Beniswa Plaza or places over here where they can be close to the recreational facilities. And the last thing is, people in Madison Park, they're concerned about the possible contamination from previous industries over there. So they're very concerned about that.
Yes, ma'am.
And I have been working with them on that, and I will continue to work with them on that.
Okay, thank you. June, you anticipated my next question, and that was, what are some of the issues in Ward 3? And I think you enumerated them pretty well. Frank, what do you see in Ward 3? Just if you focus down in a micro look at the ward, what do you see?
Well, having had a background of running a paint plant that dealt with a lot of chemicals and a lot of industries that were regulated by the government, the EPA and OSHA, and we were never a toxic site because we complied with the law. We've had industries around us that have been declared Superfund sites, and there's also burnfly bog. There are many of those. They certainly are not generating those new kinds of things that were there before, but obviously the EPA has the responsibility of dealing with that, and I certainly think I've got the historical background to deal with both the Ward 3 residents and deal with anything that comes along as far as the EPA goes.
Are the voters talking about that as you go around the township?
I have not. I actually have heard of the many people I've talked to. There was more concern of some potential issues with a chemical plant that's not in Old Bridge. It's actually in Sayreville.
Right.
And there was also concern about water quality at one point in time, which has been addressed. I know June may not be aware of it, but at one point in time, I guess about 25 years ago, the state of New Jersey capped the amount of water which can be taken out of the aquifer that we sit on.
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
And the problem is, since that time, 20,000 more people have moved to Old Bridge, so the demand has gone up. So instead of getting pristine water out of the aquifer, we are now in the position where we buy 40% of our water from Middlesex Water Company.
Wow.
and have to spend a lot more money treating it, which is one of the reasons why our water rates may be higher than people think they should be. But
So I can definitely understand people being concerned about that.
yes, absolutely. Well, the water is absolutely fine. That's not a problem. I'm the
Yeah, but I mean
commissioner.
about the rates.
Oh yeah, and the MUA is working on trying to resolve those issues to contain those rate increases. Almost any rate increase that's come through has strictly been as a result of the rate that we're forced to pay and the additional water we're forced to buy.
Okay, thank you, Frank. If I can ask one other question here. Right now, as we said at the beginning of the program, there's an 8-to-1 Republican majority on the council. Frank, as a Republican, how do you see that majority? Do you see that as a help or a hindrance to get legislation through?
In many ways, I think at the level of a township council, even though obviously, there are towns who have the nonpartisan elections in May.
Yes.
Nobody has a label, but they're Republicans and Democrats.
Right, okay.
in their real life.
Okay.
And I think it's like any other group of 9 people. You want to come to consensus. You want to do the positive things for the township. And there are always personalities involved, and who may not be the happiest person alongside of another person. But at the end of the day, my responsibility as a Ward 3 councilman would be to take care of the Ward 3 Council to the best of my ability, and also serve the township's larger needs when it becomes a township issue. And I need to work with, whether I'm one Republican with 8 Democrats or 9 Republicans, I think the process is still the same.
Okay, thank you. June, what do you think? You've had the 3 months experience now. Do you think the 8-to-1 Republican majority is a hindrance to you getting things through? Can you have your way in some cases?
Well, I will not look at it as a hindrance because I was elected to represent the people in the 3rd Ward. So I have to move forward. And
Yes, ma'am.
I know there will have to be some compromises, there to work with the other 8 Republicans on the council. So I know that one vote may appear to not have much power, but it's how you react and how you what's the word I want to use? How you compromise with the other
yes, ma'am.
people
Yeah.
with your issues. So I cannot say that it's going to be a hindrance, because if I say that, then I have defeated my whole purpose of being there
Well
to represent the people. So I have to push forward and strive to do whatever I can to help the people in my 3rd Ward.
Okay, thank you. Brings me to my next question. Can one person, and this is talked about frequently in magazines and books for years, can one person make a difference? One person in 9, can they make a difference up there? You think, June, what do you think?
Yes, I think they can make a difference. If you remember years ago, the lady, I can't remember her last name, but her name was Margaret. She was one person that took the prayer out of school. So yes, I do think one
yeah, I
person
remember her, yeah.
can make a difference.
Okay.
I do feel that, and I have to feel that way because I'm representing the people in the 3rd Ward. If I take a negative attitude, then I have not represented them well. So yes, I do think one vote
Okay.
can matter.
Thank you. Frank, what do you think? One person make a difference up there?
Yes, and again, I'll refer back to my Board of Education experience. At first, I got active as a non-board member. I actually ran the Long Range Planning Committee starting in 1986, and I got elected in 1993 for the first time to a 1-year term and then a 3-year term. And at the end of my 3-year term, I was unelected. But I was tenacious, so I ran again, and I got back. And through that committee, which was kind of a project for me, the Long Range Planning Committee, and with a dedicated group of people as a group, the PTA representatives from all of the schools in the district, we were able to forge an alliance for progress, and we were able to get the 2001 referendum, which is a $66 million referendum, passed with one of the highest passing rates in the state. The project was delivered on time and under budget, and I was still unelected the following year. So
Okay, so one person
yeah, I think
can indeed make a difference.
Yes, I think that can. If you got a cause and you can rally people to your cause and you can work hard and you're tenacious, I think it's achievable, not just for me, for anyone who wants to do it.
Well, I think history is replete with examples where one person has indeed made a difference. One thing before we go, what I'd like you to do is just look into the camera. This is your camera here. And if I may start with you, Frank, why should people elect you?
I think I've got a wealth of, I've got a proven record as both a volunteer and as a board member, an elected official in town, and that I've got a record of accomplishment on both the Board of Education and also on the Library Board of Trustees. I've had the pleasure of being in my 6th year on the Library Board of Trustees, and I'm serving as president for the last 3 years. And with a great director and a cooperative and hard-working board, we've made very large strides in the library operation where we're expanding services. We're actually in part of a beta program now where we purchased a van and we're trying to extend outreach where people who are shut-ins and can't get to the library, those kind of things that have never been tried before. And we've made great improvements in the library as demonstrated by our being named Library of the Year for 2015 by the Home News Tribune. One of the inspiring stories about the library, and I think touches on what June talks about the apartments, is we have a Nobel Prize laureate who was born in the Dominican Republic, settled in Old Bridge with his father, attended Madison Park School, Sandburg School, and ultimately graduated from Cedar Ridge. And he's a Nobel laureate. His name is Jono Diaz, and he's a teacher of great excellence at MIT in English Lit. So this young man walked to the Old Bridge Library every day.
Wow.
And so where there's and we're trying to do is to bring services to those parts of town that don't have the ability to always get there because they may not have a car to get there. And we'll continue to make those kind of efforts. And I think that's the level of service and experience I bring. And I think I can make those improvements in Ward 3.
Okay, Frank, well said. Where can people find you on the ballot?
I'm at the bottom of the ballot, but it's on the A line.
On the A line,
Yes,
Frank
and
Weber on the A line.
Don't just vote on the top. Do not forget the bottom.
Okay.
Because we will be the person who will probably do the most for you of anyone on that ballot.
Probably right. Good. Thank you, Frank. June, I'll give you the last word here. Why should people vote for you? Why should they keep you on the council?
The reason that my constituents in the 3rd Ward should vote for me is because I have proven myself as a dedicated person working within the state of New Jersey. I've only been in Old Bridge 5 years, but I have become involved with many organizations where they all are working to help individuals in their communities. I enjoy very much interacting with the people. I've met many people in the 3rd Ward. They are very supportive, and they love Reggie, and they say, "I know you're going to do a good job, just like Reggie did." While I'm not have been in Old Bridge as long as Mr. Weber has, but I'm sure when he first started out, people gave him a chance. So I'm asking you to give me a chance to prove myself. I know I would do my very best to answer your questions, to resolve your issues, and I'll be there for you like Reggie was. Thank you, and don't forget to vote.
And where are they going to find you?
They're going to find me on
Line B, is it?
Line B. Yeah, Line B. So vote down the ticket for me. Don't forget me.
Okay, well, thank you, folks. I really appreciate you taking time from your schedule coming in today. I want to wish you both the very best of luck in the coming weeks. Election Day will be upon us in a couple of, 28 days, 29 days now. Thank you again for coming in. Folks, we've been talking with Frank Weber, the Republican challenger, and June Dungee, who is the Democratic incumbent for now, in the election coming up in Ward 3, only Ward 3, on November 8th. So watch the bulletin board and watch the website for the exact times when these interviews will be programmed, and also look for them on YouTube. We want to thank you for watching. This is Gene McLaughlin. Take care.